morning, everyone. Thank you, Megan, for that wonderful introduction. I'm Danielle Sumy. I'm when furthest traveled. I flew in yesterday from Washington, D.C. So I'm grateful to be here today because you guys are a demographic, especially like an emergency responder and emergency management perspective that we're really trying to get a handle on. But I would be remiss if I did not introduce my awesome team who drove in from Portland, Oregon this morning. Bonnie Magura. She is, we're calling her a science education consultant. And I'll introduce both of them a little bit more later. But Bonnie is a retired middle school teacher from the Portland School District. So she is kind of our background perspective of how to really educate in the classroom. And then Jenda Johnson has been a longtime collaborator. She is our animation extraordinaire for IRIS, and I get to show all the wonderful animations that she, in the past and things that we're thinking about for the future. Next slide, I don't know. Okay. So Shake Alert has really far-reaching implications to alert communities to an impending earthquake and/or tsunamis, and to help reduce the impact of earthquakes and their associated hazards, from like cut power lines or gas lines on homes, schools, businesses, and the local economy. In addition, Jenda knows a lot more about this than I do, but there are a lot of misconceptions about earthquakes, how to respond during an earthquake, what we know about earthquakes in general, and it inhibits some people from opening their minds to learn about scientific facts. And so we have a goal to really cut through those misconceptions and help people really understand the causes and effects of earthquakes. So we have a joint responsibility between IRIS and Shake Alert to work with the general public at large to educate and inform them about what to do to prepare before and what to do during an earthquake and what to do after an earthquake. And we have to educate folks in environments that they're comfortable in. And that's why, I flew all the way here today to talk with all of you. And we need to use vocabulary and terminology that spans a wide range of educational levels. And so we're developing educational activities that can span the formal classroom setting, what we typically think of, K through 12, to an informal kind of museum where you might have a museum or library docent leading a group of school kids through the museum. And also, of course, being in this demographic, we want to also be able to help emergency managers talk to emergency. And so we want to make sure that we're reaching the classroom to the community and that we can inform everybody and also help prevent future loss. To quickly introduce what IRIS is, we have a lot of community governance and oversight from a lot of different groups. We stand for the Incorporated Research Institutions for Seismology, as you see in the top purple banner. We are a nonprofit consortium of U.S.-based universities. We are headquartered in Washington, D.C. We are a community of seismologists that serve a community of seismologists. Our motto is facilitate, collaborate, educate, and we are composed of three main directorates. There we go. Perfect. We are composed of instrumentation services. That's about 70% of what we do. We work on a lot of different instrumentation around the globe. We also are about 23% data services, and our data services group is housed at the University of Washington. They're here in Seattle. And finally, about 7% of IRIS is our education and public outreach program. So, and where the three of us fall into. So with the Global Seismographic Network, this falls in our instrumentation program, 150 seismometers that operate around the globe. And we also operate the EarthScope Transportable Array that has stations here in Cascadia and now has moved on to Alaska. And we also do a lot of lending through our lending library of instrumentation presentation out of IRIS Pascal, which is in Socorro, New Mexico. Sorry, trying to flip those. In addition, IRIS is committed to open access data. We're the largest repository of seismic data in the world, and we have a lot of data collected from the past, even from the 1930s to the present, and like some that's even being telemetered from the last day, for instance. The data services portion of IRIS is committed to providing quality control on seismic data, as well as educational products that we can then be using through our education and public outreach programs. And the EPO group is dedicated to providing educational and workforce-related opportunities for students and early career geoscientists, just to name a few. So we kind of span kind of all parts of the education sphere. And
can we please mute phones again? We have a couple open mics.
Thank you. So just to introduce ourselves again, I'm Danielle Sumy. I'm a seismologist at IRIS. I provide sort of the technical expertise to this material just to make sure we're getting technical terms and things like that correct in our educational activities and animations. Jenna Johnson, contractor. And she, of course, works primarily on our animations and graphics. And I'm going to show you a suite of little snippets from her animations in a couple of slides. And Bonnie McGrath is kind of our content specialist to make sure that our information is broadly applicable. So as just an example of what we're working on, we're diligently working on a suite of resources. We're mainly rebuilding and repurposing existing educational activities that have kind of run the gamut through different groups, and I'll explain those different groups in a couple of slides. This is just showing an example of the building oscillation seismic simulation model, or BOSS model. And we have 5 different activities that are demonstrating the exact same thing. Okay, and so depending on how much time, money, energy you have to devote to a specific exercise, you can, use spaghetti and raisins to demonstrate building frequency and resonance. We could go really towards maybe the more expensive end by using blocks on dowels, as shown in example E. And so we really want to make sure that these resources revolve around activities that can be used in all sorts of educational settings. And again, I really want to make sure that we're using educational very, very broadly. And in addition, we also have standalone animations and PowerPoint presentations that can be utilized depending on your specific educational purpose and who you're talking with. We have 7 activities that are ready for review, and they're in themes that I'll walk through, but they kind of span everywhere from plate tectonics, spanning what's happening in the Pacific Northwest to what's going on in the San Andreas Fault, to the shape alert earthquake early warning materials. So we're kind of building up a sequence of materials, and you can kind of pick and choose what you would like to teach from in those activities. So each activity has an introduction to what we're going to cover. Then we talk about learning concepts and objectives. So what the takeaway message is going to be from this particular exercise or activity. We also show what the constraints are, how much time you should devote to the activity, what the target level from not expert level that you kind of want to aim for with that subject. And we also give what the subject is, obviously, and what materials that you would need to be able to develop and utilize that particular activity. We also have a list of resources that contain relevant animations and links to those animations, as well as additional media sources. We also have instructor notes. You can make them out. There's a lot of feedback, so if you haven't muted, so. So we also have instructor notes so that you are educated about what you're about to present. And we also all the technical details are understood and that we're all on the same page. We also have learner worksheets and materials. Notice here that I don't use the word student. And that's because we want to make sure that we're using terms like instructor and learner versus teacher and student. So again, is going back to how broad we want to make these activities. In the appendices, we also have information about the next generation science standards and Shake Alert specific examples and notes. We're housing these materials on our IRIS website and IRIS in class. And so we are, and I should really make the note that we, let's see what's going on.
I'm sorry, I'm trying to mute.
Okay, I'll make it here. And so as you can see, this is actually our homepage for in class. Nowhere does it actually say doing classes with these in a formal class environment. And that just happens to be the link that we've called it internally. And we hope that I've a great animation on how to use the page, which is highlighted in the top right corner. And that can just walk you through how you can use materials, as well as we expect that Shape Alert will fall underneath the concept, which is highlighted in the lower left corner, and that you will be able to specifically drill down into that concept. Okay, still not moving forward. Okay. A lot of these materials tend to circulate within different programs. So a lot of these materials have started out as IRIS things and kind of have means to run through different programs. And so I also wanted to highlight that have done a lot of work and that we are now, again, taking their resources and repurposing and rebranding them for our purposes. And one project is the Cascadia Earthquake and Tsunami Program, also known as CTAP. It's run through Oregon State and focuses on Pacific Northwest earthquakes specifically and tsunami hazards in education, which is obviously very Shape Alert. Also, EarthScope ANGLE, and ANGLE stands for the Alaska Native Geoscience Learning Experience. This is run through the University of Alaska Anchorage, and they have developed a suite of topics, and their organizational design has become the emphasis of how we are implementing our organization of these materials. And so this is just a demo mock-up that Jenda put together to sort of demonstrate what we are planning to do within IRIS internally and how we're going to display these resources. So we hope to have a bigger banner across the page that you can obviously see is very much Shake Alert. And then we hope to have an icon in the top right corner that says, like, what is Shake Alert, and kind of give a demo of what that is all about. And then across the top two, we hope to have a description of what Shake Alert is and the material. And then our 6 topics that we're going to mainly cover are focused on tectonics and faults, specifically focused on the Pacific Northwest and those hazards that we would expect along the San Andreas Fault in California. We also hope to utilize some of our existing resources. As Bob mentioned earlier, Shake Alert is probably going to extend into Nevada and to Alaska. So we also want to make sure that we have resources on, basin and range tectonics as well as. Our second topic is going to focus on earthquake basics. Our third is going to focus on earthquake magnitude and intensity. And we have a suite of resources that we have already developed on magnitude and intensity, and we hope to resource develop. And the fourth topic is on understanding natural hazards. So that would be anything that you can expect because of an earthquake, like tsunamis. The fifth category will be earthquake mitigation and planning. Basically, how to build a better wall or how to think about the structural and aspects of how we can prepare for earthquakes. And then finally, we'll finish off with earthquake-related warnings and Shake Alert. So hope that this kind of builds you up through a sequence. So if your learners already know about plate tectonics and faults and earthquake basics, you might want to just skip to magnitude and intensity, for instance. So, okay, thank you. So I'm going to walk through just like a snippet of these animations. So in plate tectonics and faults, here, I'll like
Magnitude 9, Cascadia mega earthquakes. Magnitude 6.5 to 7 deep earthquakes. And shallow crustal fault earthquakes with magnitude up to 7.5. What causes them? People show how to on the plate, basin and range extension, invasion of crustal blocks from California, and the resistance of the Canadian crustal belt combined
So that one was just obviously showing a sequence that would focus on the three major types of earthquakes that we can expect in the Pacific Northwest. In earthquake basics, we focus on earthquake concepts like elastic rebound and the mechanisms that cause earthquakes. And in the demonstration, we show the earthquake machine activity, and it's a great demonstration of how earthquakes work along a fault system, and also, also explains how the model is similar and different to what actually happens along the fault. Next slide. Now let's play with the model for a few minutes. What happens? You want to pull very gently on the measuring tape. Make sure you apply steady pull. In the next section on earthquake magnitude and intensity, we show through an animation how the two terms can be related through a light bulb analogy.
A light bulb represents the location within the Earth called the hypocenter, where the earthquake begins. The magnitude or size of an earthquake is like the wattage of a light bulb. Just as the wattage represents the amount of power of the light bulb, the magnitude is related to the total amount of energy released by the earthquake source. The intensity, or shaking level, is like the amount of light from the light bulb that is received at any spot in a room. A small area of the room will make that area bright with high intensity light, but it will leave the distant areas of the room dim with low intensity light. So a given earthquake has only one magnitude, but will produce different intensities of ground shaking in different locations, as on a shake map.
In our Understanding Natural Hazard segment, we show GPS motion during the 2015 Kathmandu, Nepal earthquake, and how it relates to how people responded during the event. And GPS understand what motions occurred during the earthquake itself.
A GPS station in the Kathmandu Basin recorded the ground motion, while video captured people's response. Following ground motion of 1.5 meters to the southeast over the first 10 seconds, the ground lurched 1.6 meters west in less than 3 seconds, causing people to stagger and some to fall. Over the next 12 seconds, the ground moved back and forth 3 times, with an average time of 4 seconds for each oscillation.
In our next segment on earthquake mitigation and planning, Bob Butler from the University of Portland reviews the Building Oscillation Simulation, or BOSS model, and shows how buildings respond during different types of earthquake shaking.
The idea of the BOSS model is that different main buildings will respond to different frequencies of horizontal ground motion. A small building will respond to very slow or low frequency oscillations of the ground. So if I move the base slowly, back and forth, I can get tall buildings to oscillate, where the intermediate and short buildings are not moving.
And then finally, in our last segment, we're working on earthquake early warning. And this is just showing a demonstration of the 2014 Napa earthquake and how shake alert test users in San Francisco were alerted. It was developed in conjunction with the U.S. Geological Survey. And I have to admit, because it was developed in 2014 and it's 2019, it's 5 years out of date, and so some information we need to update, and we will be working on that. We need to work on incorporating any information that you would like to see. So this is an active area that we're really trying to update.
5.1 seconds after the magnitude 6 Napa earthquake, shake alert test users in San Francisco received warning that the strongest ground shaking would arrive in 8 seconds, vital time to get to safety.
Earthquake like shaking expected in 2 seconds.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. So I just want to make sure, I'm happy to get you the links to any of these animations and videos. I'm also happy to give any of you the presentation so that you can have all of these links to where they exist within IRIS. And, And I also just want to make mention that on our main IRS page, it's going to be housed under our education tab. So we're going to have it under, so Shake Alert will be highly visible on our website. And when? That's a great question, when it will be. We are working on deciding internally how we're going to restructure and how we're going to devise how we can find the Shake Alert materials. The 7 activities that we have developed are currently with the Educational Resources Working Group for review. And then depending on how heavy the material was done with Shake Alert, it might have to go through additional internal review with the U.S. Geological Survey. So, but what we hope to do is develop a ramp-out approach so that we'll work on getting plate tectonics and faults done first and then kind of go through the rest of the materials as we can, so that we're not just like leaving all of this material kind of off. But all of the materials that, like all of the innovations edition, for instance, are already available. They're just not under one major Shake Alert heading. So the resources are out there.